In this video, we're going to talk about the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos. As the world's first centi-billionaire, Bezos has amassed a fortune that most people can't even fathom. But how did he get there? It's safe to say that Bezos didn't become the wealthiest person in the world without knowing a thing or two that most people don't. So, what can you learn from Jeff Bezos that might help you with your own global empire? Here are 5 rules that Jeff Bezos uses as the foundation for his business philosophy, or what you might say, the Amazon way. Number 5. Be both stubborn and flexible at the same time. While it might sound like an oxymoron, Jeff Bezos believes that good entrepreneurs must be stubborn and flexible, particularly stubborn on the vision, but flexible on the details. From the get-go, you should know your vision and what you want to achieve. You should not be willing to compromise on what that end goal is. However, you should be flexible in the details or the method of getting there. According to Bezos, quote, "If you're not stubborn, you'll give up on experiments too soon. And if you're not flexible, you'll pound your head against the wall and you won't see a different solution to a problem you're trying to solve." The challenge here is figuring out when to be which during your entrepreneurial journey. In the case of Bezos, his vision was Amazon, and during his years of entrepreneurship and struggle, he was steadfast in making sure that that vision came to life. Now, of course, on his journey, Bezos encountered many obstacles and failures, with one of the most costly being the Amazon Fire Phone, which was reportedly a $170 million flop. Instead of being stubborn and reluctant to accept failure, Bezos decided to scrap it, thereby showing how flexible he could be. Number 4, the 2 pizza rule. In a company that's as large as Amazon, you might be mistaken in thinking that there might be lots of bureaucracy, but actually that's not the case. Amazon has a pretty strict philosophy, the 2 pizza rule. In a nutshell, a group must be small enough that 2 pizzas is sufficient to feed it, which works out to around 5 to 8 people in a team. Bezos put that rule in place because he believed that as a group becomes larger, they become less efficient. And he also believes that company decisions fall into one of 2 categories. Type 1 decisions are irreversible, monumental decisions that decide the fate of a company, while Type 2 are tactical decisions that can be reversed or modified if they don't work out. To keep Amazon running smoothly and to avoid any bureaucracy, he leaves Type 2 decisions to the so-called 2 pizza groups. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't retain his overall say, and he does still retain the right to pull the plug on a project even if it was made using a Type 1 decision. The best example of this approach is with AWS, or Amazon Web Services, the division that provides cloud computing services. While it started out as a Type 1 monumental decision, he then ordered each team to work within themselves. If a certain team needed information from another team, they could not ask for that data directly from the other team so as not to cause disruptions. This approach ensured that the teams were focused on their own goals. And I guess it worked, because AWS now accounts for about 10% of Amazon's revenue. In fact, it's actually considered to be a separate division within the Amazon empire. Rule number 3. Adopt a long-term mindset. Now, many CEOs and company owners are focused on their company's current growth, and if you ask them what their current growth percentage is, they probably know that figure. However, Bezos bucks this trend. When asked in an interview if he knew what Amazon's current growth rates were, he famously replied, quote, "I'm thinking a few years out. I've already forgotten those numbers." And with that kind of thinking, it shows that Bezos wasn't focused on what his company had already achieved, he was thinking about where he could bring it to next. Keep in mind that when Amazon actually started, it was actually during a period where most people weren't all that familiar with the internet. In fact, Bezos even had trouble getting investors interested in his idea. Now, it might sound ludicrous now, but back then, he struggled to raise $1 million in investments. According to Bezos, he had, quote, "talked to 60 people and was only able to get 50K from 22 of them. Out of those 60 people, 2 were his parents, who invested almost $250,000, which was a significant portion of their life savings." However, in keeping with his stubborn yet flexible philosophy, he instead looked for funding elsewhere. By June 1996, Bezos was able to raise $8 million in Series A from venture capital firm Kleiner Perkins. Rule number 2, be obsessed with the customers. There's a motto that's been ingrained into the Amazon culture from the beginning. Start with the customer and work backwards. In an interview with CNN, Bezos stated that his focus on the customer sets him apart from his competitors. He said, quote, "If there's one reason we have done better than our peers in the internet space over the last 6 years, it's because we have focused like a laser on customer experience." This is a philosophy he's had for years. In an interview with Charlie Rose, he said, quote, "Our mission is to be Earth's most customer-centric company, meaning that they're looking to understand what the customer needs and wants and provide that solution to them." And again, this sets Amazon apart from many other companies who often build a product hoping that the clients and customers will accept it. Amazon's work backwards approach has been one of the reasons why they've been so successful, and it makes their customers feel heard. And you can even see it in the design of their website. Not only does it show what the customer needs, it even anticipates what they might want. It's a brilliant way to hit two birds with one stone. It makes the customer feel taken care of, and it upsells. Rule number 1, take criticism head on. Bezos is no stranger to criticism, having had a lot of it over the years. For example, he got a lot of flack over how slow he was in raising the minimum wage of his employees to $15 after months of backlash. But for Bezos, taking all that heat from other people is part of the process of being a good leader, and it can be helpful if you know how to handle it. According to Bezos, the first step is developing a framework around that criticism and determining if it has merit. If it does, even partially, then your next step should be to find out how to implement change. This framework is something that goes all the way back to Amazon's early days, when they were actually the first major online company to allow customer reviews for the books that they were selling. It was considered to be a controversial practice, and Bezos even got letters from publishers saying that he, quote, "needed to take down the negative customer reviews if he wanted to continue selling things." And Bezos states that he thought about the advice, but ultimately decided against it. Quote, "I thought, no, he's wrong. We don't make money when we sell things, we make money when we help people make purchase decisions." Using these 5 business philosophies, Bezos has conquered the world in ways that many people thought was impossible. He now owns or has a stake in many of the world's most recognizable brands, including Amazon, Twitch, Twitter, Whole Foods, and even Google. Yes, he has a stake in Google. He even has his own aerospace company called Blue Origin. While he announced that he was stepping down from being the Amazon CEO in early 2021, that doesn't mean that he's about to settle down quietly. In fact, he's even more focused on the future than ever before. His future plans include having a more active role in the Bezos Earth Fund, which is an organisation dedicated to fighting climate change, as well as the Day One Fund, which helps support underprivileged communities around the world. And just like with Amazon's meteoric rise, you can be sure that with Bezos at the helm, these organisations will break ground where no one has tread before. So what do you think about Bezos' 5 business philosophies? Which is the most helpful for you in your business? And have you heard about Bezos' ex-wife, Mackenzie, and what she's doing with all of her money? If you haven't already seen our video about the wealthiest women in the world, I'll leave that on screen for you to check out now. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing for lots more videos about billionaires. Catch you on the next video.